Why Gen Z has an incel problem. Uh-oh.
What if I told you the incel problem isn't what you think it is?
I would believe you because people don't even know what the word means anymore. It used to mean involuntarily celibate. Now it just means you're a man and you're saying something I don't like, so I'm going to call you this.
Everyone blames Andrew Tate. Everyone blames podcasts. Everyone blames toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
They're all wrong.
Yeah, well, people like Andrew Tate didn't start the problem. The problem started people like Andrew Tate. And calling somebody an incel at this point, especially when by definition they're not one, is just a way for you to try to make them seem radical so you don't have to address their actual arguments.
Gen Z men aren't being radicalized by some shadowy influence campaign.
They're being radicalized by people calling them radical for just addressing their grievances.
They're responding to something real, something measurable, something that's been building for years. And the scariest part? We saw it coming.
Yeah.
63% of men under 30 are single.
It's
That's
crazy.
the new normal.
It's crazy.
This isn't about dating apps.
How do you find
Well,
love?
a little bit.
Now,
A
for
little
many,
bit.
that search starts online.
It's not about feminism.
If they don't offer you a seat at the table, you bring a folding chair. I think we're
Little bit.
tired of bringing our own folding chairs.
It's not even really about women. It's about what happens when an entire
Little
generation
bit.
of young men grows up feeling invisible. When loneliness becomes an identity. When the internet gives you a vocabulary for your pain. The incelification of Gen Z didn't start on Reddit. It didn't start with Elliot Rodger.
Yeah, I always think it's weird that incels get like this bad rap for like violence when for the most part, incels aren't violent. They just kind of want to be loved. Like men who are actually violent and actually commit violent crimes actually don't have any problem finding dates or having children or finding women that want to be with them. The men who are actually violent and probably are more likely to be threats to women actually have no problem getting women. But for some reason, incels just catch a stray every time.
It started the moment we stopped asking a simple question. What happens to boys who never feel wanted? Because what I'm about to show you will change how you see everything.
Great
Here's
production
what the
value.
media wants you to believe. Young men are being radicalized by Andrew Tate,
Right.
by Jordan Peterson,
Right.
by misogynistic podcasters with millions of followers. Ban influencers. Problem solved.
Right.
Except it's not solved. It's getting worse.
Yeah.
Because they've got the causation backwards. These guys aren't lonely because they watch Tate. They watch Tate because they're lonely.
Bro, and I don't even know where that theory even comes from, bro. I'm going to tell you right now, 9 out of the 10 or 8 of the 10, I'll be generous. 8 of the 10 people that I've met that actually watches my content were either with a woman or has a woman, and all of them seemed well kept together to the point where if they needed to get a woman, it wouldn't be a problem. None of them seemed socially awkward. I guess I could be a little bit biased because those are the guys that may have came up to me when they recognized me, and maybe that would skew towards a certain type of dude who wants to approach you and say that they recognize you. But yeah, for the most part, this whole idea that the people who watch Red Pill or Manosphere or Andrew Tate or Fresh Affair, all these guys, the idea that they are all like lonely men is just not true. I don't know where that comes. I think it's just cope. I think it's just more cope so that people can easily try to categorize certain guys, but it's simply not true.
Influencers didn't create the crisis. They're profiting from it.
Georgiana?
Is that your maid?
No, it's a masseuse. Georgiana, can you bring my sunglasses, please? I don't know where they are.
Yo!
Think about it. If you removed every Red Pill podcast tomorrow, would young men suddenly stop being isolated?
No.
Would they
of
magically
course
have
not.
friends again? Would the loneliness disappear? No. The audience would just find someone else. Because
Right.
the demand is real.
Yeah, and the demand is going mainstream now. I can't tell you how many big wig people with PhDs, behavior psychologists, and all these evolutionary. When it wasn't safe to say this stuff 5-6 years ago, none of these big wig PhD people was coming out and saying it. But now it's kind of going more mainstream. You got all these people coming out and trying to put these terms and writing these books on similar ideas that were being talked about in this space literally just 6 years ago. And I just think that it's interesting that these people went to school for like 15 years to talk about something that's completely obvious to anybody that's involved in the human experience. But you know, to be honest, I actually don't mind it. It's good that it's going into the mainstream, and maybe if people need these PhDs to validate the things that are being said, maybe it's just necessary. because the market has become so big for it. It's in the mainstream, and you have all these PhD people talking about literally the same talking points that I was saying like 6 years ago.
We spent decades building a world that's terrible for human connection. Social media replaced real friendships. Dating apps turned relationships into a marketplace.
Yep.
Adult websites became the default. Community institutions collapsed. Boys grew up more isolated than any generation in history.
Yeah.
Then we handed them phones at age 10.
Right.
By the time they hit 18, many of them had never asked someone out in person, never been to a party, never had a real conversation with a girl. The stats back this up. Gen Z has less intimacy than any generation since we started tracking.
Wow.
Fewer relationships, fewer friends, more time alone.
I guarantee you that, Skew. I know for a fact, and I mean it just is a fact, that young women in America are having more sex than the young men in America for the first time in American history. So I would guarantee you that that statistic is skewed. I bet you there's a plethora of women, not all women, of course, but there's some women that are more promiscuous with the small minority of men, and so that's why it's skewed so heavily. And I know that there are some people who think that facts are misogynistic, but I mean, that's just the truth. Young women are having more sex than young men now.
22 years old, invisible to everyone around you, watching your peers couple up while you eat dinner alone every night, you're gonna look for answers. The manosphere doesn't brainwash these guys. It gives them a framework for pain they already feel. You can't fight an ideology by attacking the influences. You have to address why the message resonates in the first place. Here's what the data actually shows. 1 in 4 young men report having 0 close friends.
Yeah, that's
0.
a problem.
Not a few acquaintances, not work buddies, literally no one. That number has tripled since 1990. 30% of men under 30 haven't had intercourse in the past year. Compare that to women, only 19%. The gender gap is widening, fast.
Yeah, so exactly. Young women are having more sex than ever. It's just with a smaller minority of men. And then when that small minority of men don't commit to them because they have all the options, and why would you buy the cow when you could just get the milk? They get resentful. And this is the reason why, historically speaking, those men were expected to marry women before they slept with them. But of course, that was just seen as old tradition that we need to throw away for this new system that doesn't really seem to be working, if you ask me. But I guess we're just going to keep trying it to see.
I have not interacted with a female that is not related to me in over 3 years.
And before you say, well, they're just lazy, or they need to try harder, let me just stop you right there. Because that's exactly what everyone said 5 years ago. 10 years ago. 20 years ago.
Just work harder, bro. Why are you just not approaching enough? And to be honest, I think it's because part of the methods and the ways that people meet now hyper exaggerate this issue in a way where if you're a guy that's a little bit less social, you stand less chance than ever before, because not only is the dating marketplace just global at this point, but also you have these apps where it's easier to pick a person than it is to pick a pizza. And so you only have 3 seconds to impress this person, and your number one asset to impress that person in 3 seconds is going to be your looks. I truly don't believe that humans were meant to even meet on these type of apps, and I don't truly believe it's natural for a man to walk across the bar and talk to a random stranger that he doesn't know. I think historically speaking, people met people in church. They met people in school. They had similar social circles. So like when I met my wife, we were already friends. Like I already knew her. And because we were already hanging out together, it was easy for me to escalate it and go, hey, do you want to go do something alone? Just me and you. And eventually we escalated into being boyfriend and girlfriend, and now we're married. But that came from a social circle. I didn't approach her in a bar. I don't even think that that's natural for most guys. And I think the outsourcing of dating from our social circles to apps to make it more convenient has completely destroyed the balancing of dating.
The numbers kept climbing anyway. Young men today spend more time alone than any generation in recorded history. More time in their rooms, more time online, more time in their own heads. The pandemic made it worse.
Dangerous.
But it didn't create the problem. It just accelerated what was already happening. When researchers ask these men how they feel, the word that comes up most often isn't angry. It's not entitled. It's not even frustrated. It's invisible.
Right.
They feel like ghosts in their own lives. Like they could disappear tomorrow and nobody would notice. Like they're watching everyone else live through a screen. And when you feel invisible enough, you start looking for explanations. You start looking for reasons. You start looking for someone to blame.
You start looks maxing.
That's when the internet steps in. Nobody wakes up and decides to become an incel. It doesn't work like that. It starts with a joke, a meme, something that makes you laugh because it hits too close to home.
No, I think it's mostly genetic. Not only is it genetic because of your looks, I think if you're more attractive or you're a better looking or taller guy, more people want to have you around. Therefore, you're more likely to going to be more social because people accept you or are more accepting of you in those social environments. But also think that you can't control people's interest. There are some people who are more introverted and they're not very interested in carrying on long conversations with the opposite sex, or even some people in the same sex, right? So it's like you can't control people's interests, and there are just some people who are less interested in having those conversations or even pursuing relationships. And because they don't have those social circles that would force them or make it a little bit easier for them to fall into those types of situations or in relationships, they're not going to be the type of guys that have the interest of walking across the bar to approach anybody. So I don't think it has to do with bullying. For some reason, he seems to be making it about bullying, but I don't think it has anything to do with bullying, actually. And if you think that this has anything to do with bullying, the worst thing for an incel right now would be to try to walk up to a random woman. Because some of them ladies just be straight up disrespectful to a fella.
Nobody tests me first. Girls only want tall guys. I'm too ugly for dating apps. Relatable, right? Harmless even. But here's the thing about memes. They're not just jokes. They're tiny packets of ideology disguised as humor. You laugh at one, the algorithm shows you 10 more, then 100. Then your entire feed is just variations of the same message.
Yeah, and I've noticed that it happens even quicker now. Like, you watch one video of one thing and your algorithm is just flooded now. And the reason why I think so many platforms are starting to heavily lean on short form content is because it's data collection. It's easier to collect data and to find out what humans are interested in if you show them a bunch of quick things than it is if you show them a bunch of long form content. So yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. It's data collection.
You're losing. Other guys are winning. The game is rigged. TikTok calls it getting blackpilled. It's when you stop seeing these memes as jokes and start seeing them as truth. The transition is seamless, invisible almost. One day you're watching gym content and self-improvement videos. The next day the algorithm is feeding you looks-maxing tutorials and hypergamy explainers. You don't even realize you've crossed a line. Because the internet doesn't radicalize you with manifestos anymore. It does it with relatability, with community, with the feeling that someone finally gets it. Reddit boards, Discord servers, Telegram groups. These spaces don't feel dangerous when you first join. They feel like support groups, like the only place where people understand what you're going through. Then the vocabulary changes. Dating is hard becomes women are hypergamous. I'm struggling.
Well, that's just objectively true. Like, what are we talking? That's actually objectively true. And if you ask the bigwig PhDs who are now allowed to say it, they're having these same conversations. But somehow they'll still blame it on men. They'll go, well, men just need to earn more. And it's like, well, the reason why there's an average earning of $50,000 is because some men earn more, some men earn less. And if the average just goes up, the man who's still at the average will still be the average, and it'll still be undesirable because it's still average. And they're like, no, just keep working harder. And I'm like, that's not going to solve the issue. We do have an actual issue that needs to be solved, and that solution is not going to be the solution to the actual issue.
It's over for sub-5 males. I feel lonely becomes society hates men. The shift happens word by word, meme by meme. And the most insidious part? It all started with something true. Young men are struggling. Loneliness is real. The dating market has changed. But truth mixed with poison is still poison.
But who's going to go help them? Because if society needs help, who are they going to call on? If society goes to war, who are they going to call on? If society needs building, roads need fixing, trades need doing, people need dying, who are they going to call for? So for these people who have to sacrifice literally their lives potentially at some point for society to ask for some type of help from society because they've been ignored for a long time, I don't think that that's a big ask. And I think it's okay if society demands so much from you to be frustrated if society refuses to give you anything in return. Yeah.
By the time you realize what's happened, you're already speaking a different language, seeing the world through a different lens. and everyone outside that bubble looks like the enemy. Looks maxing sounds innocent enough. It's just self-improvement, right? Hit the gym, fix your skin, get a better haircut, level up your appearance. Millions of Gen Z guys are doing it. The hashtag has billions of views on TikTok.
Yeah.
But here's what nobody tells you about looks maxing.
Pretty much everything he just listed is looks maxing. The rest of it is just body dysmorphia repackaged. That's all it is.
It doesn't start as self-improvement. It starts as self-hatred. The whole premise is, you're not good enough as you are. Your face is holding you back. Your jawline is your destiny. Your cantle tilt determines your worth. Yeah, cantle tilt, the angle of your eyes.
I don't even know what that means.
There are guys measuring
okay.
this with protractors. At first, it seems productive. Work out, eat better, take care of yourself, good stuff. Then, it escalates. Mewing, bone smashing, icing your face for hours, stretching your palate with medieval torture devices. Some guys are getting risky surgeries in their early 20s.
It's crazy.
The message gets darker. No amount of personality can fix that ugly face. Women operate on pure biology. Attractiveness is a science, not an opinion. This is where the slope gets slippery. Because looks maxing spaces don't just teach you how to look better. They teach you that looks are everything.
Yeah,
that
that's
human
true.
connection is
They do.
transactional. That you're in competition with every other man. And when you've spent months obsessing over your appearance, when you've measured every millimeter of your face, when you've done everything right and still feel invisible, that's when the black pill really sinks in. I tried everything and it didn't work. Maybe they're right. Maybe it's genetics.
The funniest part is, though, that very similar to bodybuilding, when it comes to the body dysmorphia that's like from my opinion, in the category of looks maxing, it's always the people with the best genetics that are actually the most extreme. Like in bodybuilding, the people with the best genetics that actually have the capability of walking around with a pretty solid body, even if they didn't take all the steroids, those are the ones doing the most steroids. And looks maxing, the guys that are already a little bit tall or a little bit attractive or a little bit good looking, handsome, whatever, they're the ones that are doing all the more extreme things to look better. So I just think that's very interesting. Like, hardly ever do you see somebody that's obese taking the steroids, in the same way that hardly ever do you see somebody that's like a 2 on the looks maxing scale actually doing the surgeries and the more extreme things that the people who have the good genetics are willing to do. And when I say like better genetics, I'm literally saying there are people that look better. They're born and they look better than other people. And to act like that doesn't exist is just pure delusion to me. So yeah, that's what I'm referring to when I say good genetics or better genetics, yeah.
Maybe it's over. Looks maxing promises control in a world that feels random, but it actually does the opposite. It turns your self-worth into a number, your face into a prison. And once you see yourself that way, it's hard to see anyone else as fully human either.
Odd.
Something unprecedented is happening with Gen Z. Women are organizing, finding community, building movements. They have language for their struggles, validation, support systems.
Yeah, they're like attempting more than men are committing. It's just men use more extreme methods. They're chewing antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications like M&Ms. And I mean, if that's what makes you able to sustain your happiness, I guess, better luck to you. But I don't think the women are doing any better, to be honest. I'm going to be honest.
Men are isolated, told to figure it out alone, told their problems aren't real problems, that complaining makes them weak. So they go online, and online tells them something different. Online tells them they're the real victims, that feminism went too far, that society has turned against them. Both sides think the other is insane.
But the bigger problem is, and it's pushing towards this, only one side actually matters when it comes to their opinion, because once that side says, this is what it's going to be, this is what we're going to do, and you're not allowed to do this anymore, then everybody's going to have to concede to that side anyway. So once the young men get pushed to a certain extreme, everything is going to change. And I think when you look at the statistics of the opinions of Gen Z, especially younger Gen Z, They have very non-egalitarian principles and ideas in terms of what they think about equality and women's rights and women's rights and things like this. Of course, the pendulum always swings, and this is just going to be the natural response to something like feminism for the past 80 years. It's just going to happen that way. That's how it always happens.
I think the other is living in a different reality. And they're both kind of right. Because they're living in different realities now. Different apps, different content, different friend groups, different worlds. They're not just politically divided, they're experientially separated. And when you can't even agree on what problems exist, when your basic perceptions of reality don't align, how do you date each other? How do you trust each other? You don't. Loneliness is a crisis, not a character flaw. Right now, the only people talking to these guys are leading them into darkness. The manosphere wins because it's the only place offering answers.
Yeah, because nobody else has any answers. They know that to give answers to this issue, you'd have to address feminism. And because they don't want to address feminism, they kind of just push the arguments to the side and act like there's no validity to them. But yeah, when you talk about the divorce rate being at about 50%, but women still, for the most part, reaping the benefits of divorce, a man being able to do all of the right things in his marriage and still be able to lose half of everything he owns because his wife woke up and say that she's not happy one day, him going into the family court system and being treated like a second-class parent, even though the kid is literally 50% of his DNA, and the state essentially giving the kid to the mom and then weaponizing the kid as a way to extract resources from the dads, but the dads have to be the ones to uphold the state and do all the hard and dangerous, dirty jobs that uphold the society and die for this. Like, there's a bunch of different grievances is what I'm saying, and a lot of points and arguments that the manosphere makes that people just refuse to acknowledge, because to acknowledge that is going to mean you're going to have to deal with feminism, and that means making probably about 40% of the population angry. Go ahead and finish this one up. I think we're at the end of it.
Those answers are poison.
Okay.
We can do better.
All right.
We have to.
Okay, then what's better? He didn't answer any of the questions. He just blamed the incelification of Gen Z on what? Looks maxing? That was the problem. But yeah, the production on this video was great. This channel only has 272 subscribers, so this is great. I'll leave a link in the pinned comments and in the description down below. Let me know in the comments below if this video is a W or L, and give me the HBO special. That's help brother out special. Hit the like and the subscribe button for more content. Till next time.